Good morning. We will go ahead and get started with the July edition of our Startup Resources series. Welcome, everyone. If you are new to this series, we welcome you. And if you are returning as a series subscriber, welcome back. We are really excited to have another great topic for you today to share in our Startup Resources. And this is actually a continuation at all of your requests for additional information on our topic today. So we'll jump into that in just a moment. I'm Lisa Bajornis, Executive Director of the Kentucky Innovation Hubs with KSTC. And of course, we're joined this morning with our partners at the Cabinet for Economic Development through KY Innovation. So as most of you know, quickly our agenda, we will hear from David Brock for an update from the Cabinet. And then we'll move very quickly over to our speaker this morning and our topic. And of course, we always have a hub highlight that will close out, and we'll be having the opportunity to hear from our SOAR Innovation Hub in the Appalachian area. And then I'll close it out with a few events and announcements to share with you. As always, if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, please drop those in the chat. I'll facilitate those. And as time permits, I'll certainly ask those publicly and get those answers for you. All right, so let's jump right into it. And as we do, I just want to remind everybody that you can access past recordings of our Startup Resources Series webinars. Just go over to the kstc.com website. You'll click on our initiatives. You'll see Kentucky Innovation Hubs. Scroll down on that page and you will see about the last 2 years worth of our various different webinars. That supports through this library the information that we have learned and gathered over the years, and certainly we want to make that available to you publicly, in addition to the follow-up email we send that includes the recording and the posting to our Slack. So with that, let's jump right over and let's bring forward David Brock, who is the Executive Director of KY Innovation with the Cabinet and a Cabinet update. Hi, David. Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for the kind introduction. Thrilled to be here as always. We're kicking off actually a new state fiscal year this month, so excited to hit the ground running with the Hubs program and our partners with that across the state. All of the partner programs that we run through KSTC and partner with them on the SSBCI program that we have both lending funds for and venture capital funds. So a lot going on. We just announced, and I will drop in the chat after this, the awardees for this round of SBIR STTR matching funds. If you're unfamiliar with that program, it provides very important non-dilutive capital to high-tech companies that win contracts and grants with the federal government. And so we're always excited when those awards are given. This was a particularly competitive round and really demonstrates the diversity of technologies and represents some different parts of the state this time. So I'll put that release in the chat in just a moment, but reminder that that program has, over the last couple years, and we would like to keep it this way, 2 rounds, a spring and a fall round. The announcement is related to the spring round. The fall matching funds round will open in late September or late August or early September. So keep your eye out for that. I also wanted to remind everybody, we have a program called the STEP Export Grant Program that provides grant funding for companies that have an exportable product or want to get into exporting and they have an exportable product. And so we still have funding that remains available for that. So if you are a company that fits that bill, or you're working with businesses that have a product to export, particularly smaller businesses that want to enter into exporting and expand their markets outside of the United States, please look at that. I'll also put a link to our website where you can find more information about that. Apologize, getting an alert on my phone. And so I also just want to say thank you to everybody who is here today. And I think that this resource series is a great resource for our partners and businesses across the state. And the audience has continued to grow, and we would like to see that continue. But if you have feedback on these topics that you would like to see covered in the future, we want to hear about it because this is something that's picked up momentum, and we think that in the new fiscal year we can continue to grow it. So thank you for being here. Another great topic today and a good update from our Eastern Kentucky hub. Thank you, Lisa, and have a great week.
Great. Thank you so much. I think a lot of us are getting alerts on our phones. So
Yeah, apologies for that, but
that's
I
okay. Yep.
believe
No
everybody
worries.
is in the same boat. Hopefully
No worries.
everything turns out okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
All righty. And again, congratulations, David, on being named Executive Director officially, starting with this new fiscal year of July 1st for KYN and innovation within the cabinet. Um, we are going to move right on over and we'll bring Charlie forward. And just by way of introduction, we had an amazing turnout last month. Wow, it was probably one of our record attendances. For the topic of HR 101 for startups, what founders need to know. And Charlie has a vast wealth of information and experience in regard to consulting and working with early stage companies, and consulting with them in terms of what they do need to know in order to not make any what could be potentially expensive mistakes along the way as early stage companies and founders are growing their startups. And so there's even more to share. And so by demand, we decided to bring Charlie back. We have part 2 and the continuation of Human Resources 101 for startups and what founders need to know. And I have a bit more that I want to share, but about Charlie and what we covered previously. And there is his presentation. Outstanding. And so here's what I want to let you know. Last month, we covered client interviewing. We covered the I-9 self-audit. We covered the basics of Human Resources 101. And Charlie was so helpful in providing a number of resources that we shared with you, particularly an offer letter template as well. So we have all of those available. We've made them available in the follow-on email to all of our attendees. But if for any reason you did not receive some of the materials and information that Charlie shared last month, just drop me a note either in the chat or to my email, and we will be sure that you get that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Charlie and continue on because there's just a vast list of what we need to know as companies are growing and scaling and adding headcount to their teams. Welcome, Charlie. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Lisa, for those kind words. I'm not sure I'm worthy of those, but thank you so much. And thanks for having me back. I spoke to a couple folks after our last call and had great conversations. So I'll offer again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Last time, as Lisa mentioned, we covered more of the compliance side mostly when we were talking. I think this time it's more of this is what I'd call the softer side of HR, but also still some compliance components. But I'll go ahead and jump right in. I think last time we did cover interviews. I ran up on time and I didn't really get a chance to talk about it, so I'm just going to go over this slide again and kind of give my thoughts about interviewing. Again, we'll have some resources which I'll show on the last slide as well. So regarding interviewing, a lot of the things that I see from startups or folks that are just new to running a business or new to interviewing the first time is just more of a haphazard kind of approach to interviewing. You get candidates in, you get them in when you can. You're trying to schedule them with your with the other things that you need to do, and you're coming in unprepared. I would say, just make sure that you're prepared. You think about the questions that you want to ask prior to and write them down. Write those questions down. The reason to write them down is to stay consistent among your candidates, to avoid bias. And I'm not even talking about um, bias against race necessarily or gender. Those are the obvious ones. Obviously, you want to avoid that type of bias too, but those are the ones that we know to avoid that are off the top of our head. There are other types of biases. I took the SHRM CP exam and studied for that, and we talked about bias a lot. There are 9 or 10 different types of biases. One that I'm guilty of is self-bias. So, for example, like if I see a candidate that reminds me of me, maybe when I was younger, they come from Eastern Kentucky, they grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and went to the same school as I did. I'll see myself in them and lean toward that candidate, and that always doesn't work out. So the thing to do to avoid that is take notes, try to ask the same questions in each interview, um, and be mindful of those types of biases. What are you looking for in this candidate? Define your job. That's critical. Define the job and define what you're looking for before you go into those interviews. Ask consistent questions. The other thing that's obvious is don't ask illegal questions. And when we say illegal, I wrote illegal, but really what I'm saying is questions that might cause you potential liability in the future. So questions that I've heard asked in the past are, what church do you go to? Are you married? Those types of questions. They are not necessarily dispositive of bias or discrimination, but they could be used against you in the future if it ever comes to that, if there's ever a legal issue. So we try to avoid asking those questions. And I have in the resources a list of questions to not ask, but also helpfully a list of questions to ask that you might ask, questions to avoid. And there's a lot of them, a lot that you might not think. And it's good to review that before you go in. And also, your managers or other folks in your organization who are interviewing, it's good to have them review it too. We do a training for all of our clients. That's how to interview and how to not ask those types of questions, what you're trying to avoid. Take notes on each candidate. We have a form that we kind of a standard form that we ask the interviewers that so each time everybody fills out that form, and takes notes on that form, and that way we have it documented. The other thing I wanted to say is hiring is hard. It's really hard. It's a good time right now is a good market for employers today, I would say. I just hired 3. It's been the best market maybe in the 15 years that I've been doing this. Well, since the '09 crisis, basically. Um, so think about what the questions that you want to ask. And oh yeah, hiring is hard. That's what I was saying. Hiring is hard, and we all make mistakes. I don't know anybody that's got a silver bullet for this. I've made bad hires. So it's important. Be prepared. The other thing I was just going to share with you is what are the questions? We have like 4 questions that I like to ask that are open-ended questions. The reason I like to ask these questions is because it gets the candidate talking, and then you just let them run, and you might pick up some things that you wouldn't have picked up otherwise. And the idea is to just get the candidate talking and hear what they say. And ideally, you have a panel, a group of folks. Sometimes you don't have that ability, but then you get different perspectives from your coworkers on how did they interpret that and what did they say. You probably missed some things because you were taking notes and they picked up on some things. So one of the questions I like to ask is, what is a misconception that people that you've worked with tend to have about you? And I like that because it's self-reflective. It forces them to be self-reflective, and it forces them to say, what do people who you work with, what's their first, maybe their first impression isn't right, but it also just tells, like, instead of asking what are your three biggest weaknesses, which I think is maybe an overused question, this is kind of getting to the same thing but in a different way. We also ask a lot of tell us about a time when questions. Tell us about a time when you had a conflict with an employee or with your employer or with your manager or another coworker. Tell us about a time when you had a difficult problem to solve at work, and how did you overcome that problem. And the idea is just get them talking and reveal some things that would be hard to reveal if you ask them yes or no questions, for example. So we ask a lot of those tell us about a time when. We also ask about have you ever made an error in judgment? Everyone has. And tell us what happened and how did you recover from it. Um, and another question that we ask is think of a day that you had a lot of things to do and describe how you scheduled your time. What we're trying to get to that is this person a hard worker? Because that's really the hard thing to get to. It's easier to determine if someone has the technical qualifications. The really hard thing about interviewing, from my perspective, is determining is this person going to come in and work hard for us and be on the ball, really? And do they have critical thinking skills? That's really hard to get to in an interview. So that's why we ask these questions that are more introspective, I guess. Okay. I think we'll probably have enough time. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of extra time on the interviewing slides. Recruiting best practices. Again, make sure that you're defining what the role is that you're looking for with clarity. If you're posting a job, it's critical that you know exactly what you're looking for before you go to that job posting stage. Think about the duties that you need out of that job. What are the qualifications that might get to that job? What I see really commonly is all businesses, not just startups, will put together a list of duties and qualifications that they want. And they'll be asking for a master's degree in a um, very specific degree, very specific bachelor's degree, 10 years of experience in this specific field. And then they don't get any candidates that meet those qualifications. And so you're having to kind of backtrack. What I would suggest is thinking about what what could be a good candidate for this job that's not necessarily the perfect candidate, because you'll lose candidates by your job posting if you're very specific. I see that all the time. Be sure, if you're a startup, one of the critical things is people are going to be hesitant to come work for you if you haven't raised money yet, or if you've just raised money. Even if you're 3 years out of the gate, you've raised money and you're on a good pace, people are going to be reticent about joining a startup and committing their career to a startup. So one of the critical things is that you share what your mission is, what the culture is like. There are a lot of people out there who want to work for a startup because of those reasons, and you want to try to attract those folks. So sharing that mission, what makes your company unique, in the job posting, I think is a critical component, because you're going to automatically um, you're going to eliminate some of the candidate pool just because of how long you've been in business. So we want to attract those that are interested in working to a startup. To prioritize referrals. The best employees that I have came from employee referrals or networking referrals. So network is critical there. And hire for potentials, not just skills. Um, so if you have a long list of skills that you're trying to check off and you're eliminating candidates because they don't have this skill or that skill, you'll find yourself with a limited pool. So think about I always say that I'd rather hire somebody that will come in and work hard and has critical thinking skills, but maybe they don't have experience in this specific thing that we need. Because if you hire somebody like that, they can learn it. Okay. A lot of people have asked me about finding competitive salaries, and what database do I use? Where do I go? I don't have a great answer for this, and I've been looking for it for years. There are tools out there, Glassdoor, Pave, Salary.com. Those are good tools. The problem with them is the data is not great. Um, it's usually they'll have a lot of data on controller positions because that's a really common job. So if you're hiring for a controller or a bookkeeper, then you'll have good data. Or maybe even like a general computer science major or programmer, they'll probably have good data on that. So the common job titles, they'll have good data on. On the less common job titles, not so much. So for those type of titles, the best place to go is industry resources. So associations. I've seen some VC firms put out really good data. If it's in healthcare, Kaiser Family Foundation does really good salary report. Nonprofits, we have a local accounting firm here in Kentucky, Dean Dorton, and they do a great nonprofit survey every year, and that's even good for, if you're trying to if you're in something adjacent to a nonprofit sector, that could still be good for you. So check with the associations or the VCs or private equity firms will sometimes do them, and those are good in specific sectors. So that's really the best place. I wish I had a better answer for this, but the tools just aren't, and even the federal government's uh, information is not so great. It's just too broad. It's overly broad. But it'll get you close. It'll give you some reference point for what the competition is out there. It's also not updated regularly. We've had some changes in the job market recently, and I don't think it's accurately reflected in where we are right now. So when you have a sudden swing, like we've had in the last 4 or 5 months, it won't be a very good tool. Okay. Had a lot of questions about managing remote teams. I think the important thing to do if you're going to work remotely and have employees work remotely, which a lot of startups do. I have employees in Texas and New Jersey and several other states. The clear thing, or the most important thing, is to clearly define what the expectations are. What we try really hard not to do is micromanage them. The benefit of working from home is you can throw a load in the laundry and jump back on your computer and be back, or get a load of dishes done and come back. That's why people want to work remotely, and we don't want to micromanage them and tell them they can't do that. But what we do want is for them to do their job. So we focus on what are they expected to do, and have they done that? And it's hard to do that if you haven't clearly defined ahead of time what the expectations are. So if you're going into hiring someone who's going to be working remotely, make sure that's clearly defined. What they're we put together like a schedule, like when we're hiring somebody for the first time, the first 3 months, what are the things they've got to do, and regularly check in with them on where they are on that. What have they completed and how have they done? So I think that's critical. Uh, we use a lot of chats, so we can check to see if they're responding regularly and timely in our chat. A lot of people use Slack, but there are other options out there. Microsoft groups, a lot of them use Teams. There's loads of options there, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Try to have structured check-ins, and I mean probably weekly at first, at least, with your new hires. And we will do for the first week, we'll do daily. So make sure that you have those scheduled and you make time for them because it's critical. What we don't want is our remote employees to just be kind of lost and stranded out on an island. We want them to feel like part of a team. And so we'll have twice a week, all hands meetings, and then individual check-ins. And the idea is like to bring them into the fold, make them part of the culture. That's the danger, I think, is that they feel alone on an island. There is monitoring software. You can use monitoring software to see, and I get a lot of questions about this, to make sure that they're on their computer, that you can verify that they were away for 10 minutes at this time. And that's why people are using mouse jigglers and whatnot, or leaving PowerPoint open all day so that it tries to fool the monitoring software. My personal take on this is that it's overly micromanaging. A lot of people have different opinions, though. I get it if you have a lot of very specific task-oriented employees who are working remotely, so I can understand that. There are some privacy rules to be concerned with there. We don't want to be looking through at their camera. We don't want the software to be monitoring them at their computer. What we would look for there is something that's just monitoring their activity, but still people don't like to be micromanaged. So it just depends on your culture, what your type of business is, and what you need. Okay. I think we talked about this one already. What goes into an offer letter? But I'll just go over it really quickly. You want to make sure in your offer letter that you include what the role is, the title, not necessarily duties, but when you're sending out an offer letter to a candidate for the first time, make sure you include their compensation, whatever benefits packages they'll be offered. It doesn't have to be specific. We're pretty general with ours. We just say this is what your package includes. But then also there'll be contingencies, and this is, I think, where it's critical. The contingencies are things like you have to pass a background check first. Usually when you get to the offer letter stage, you haven't done the background check or you're in the process of it. So we want to make sure that we make the role, the offer, contingent on successful background check or drug screening or reference checks. Those are usually the big three contingencies that we include. Also critical that your offer letter includes an at-will employment statement. If you're in an at-will state, Kentucky is. This just says this is not a contract. We're not contractually obligated to keep you for this job for a specific amount of time. And this is a common argument when we get into legal issues with an employee. Their attorney will argue, well, I had a contract, it was a verbal contract, or they'll make an argument from the offer letter saying, we had a contract, you couldn't terminate me, so you owe me my amount of compensation for the rest of the year. So that's why we include an at-will statement, and we just say this rolls at will, and it's not a contract. You can leave at any time, or you can be terminated at any time. Keep it clear. Don't overly legalese it, but make it legally sound. And the balance here is we needed to cover the things that we need to cover legally, but we don't want to scare away the candidate. So we try to make it friendly and have some friendly statements in there as well. I included an offer letter template, which Lisa mentioned as well. Okay. This is one of the harder things, startup benefits and perks. It's hard for startups because you're just not going to be able to offer the same thing as Procter & Gamble or General Electric, or I don't know, name your big Kentucky employer, Lexmark. I think the thing you want to focus on, because you're not going to have the same benefits as a large employer, is the flexibility. That's the big thing. Being flexible, the culture, the mission of the organization, that's what you're selling. You try to offer the basics. Health is just a real challenge. I'll tell you the challenge. When you start, you don't have any employees, very hard to get a health insurance plan off the ground. Very challenging. We have a great chamber program, the Kentucky Chamber program. It's really good about getting a 2-employee group off the ground, and then once you have a year of experience, then you can try to move on, or maybe you have more employees, then you can try to move on to a direct plan with United or Anthem. Humana leaving the market a few years ago in the state of Kentucky was a big blow to, I think, small employers. They were probably the go-to for years in Kentucky. So it's just a real challenge to get a health insurance program off the ground. But we'll find a good broker and work with them. Your PTO plan will be important because people are looking for flexibility. So we try to be generous on paid time off when we can't offer the big health insurance and life insurance plans that larger businesses are offering. We also try to get creative on our benefit options, which I'll talk about in a minute.
Quick question, Charlie.
Sure.
You've got 401k listed here, and we have a question that says, what do you think about the simple IRA instead of a 401k? They have found those hard and expensive to administer.
Yep. Okay, so a little bit of a plug for the PEO industry, which I'm a part of. So the simple IRA is fine. There's some limitations, obviously, as far as contributions, pre-tax for the higher compensated folks. So, and maybe that works for the first 3 or 4 years where you're getting your pre-revenue or pre-profit. But eventually you'll get to a stage where it makes sense for the owner. The higher compensated folks are going to need a 401k. So I think a simple IRA works fine in the beginning. 401ks, as you pointed out, are challenging to get off the ground. People don't want to work with you because you don't have any assets in the plan today. So financial advisor will look at that and they'll be like, I can't make any money on this. So they'll be hesitant to work with you. It's also cumbersome to comply with. You'll have to be the fiduciary on the plan. Additionally, you'll have to have semi-annual meetings to review the plan, approve loans, make sure that the big thing is making sure that the money goes from payroll, the employer contributions and the employee contributions, and they get to the 401k plan timely. If they don't get there timely, then that's a problem because the employee missed out on, whatever the market did during that time. And it's a real pain to go back and fix that. So there's a lot to think about with a 401k. The PEO industry has a really good offering, I think, for small employers because what we have at our company is a master policy that's IRS approved, and then we manage everything. And small businesses can just kind of plug into that. You can choose your contribution level. You can choose your cadence for like if you want to exclude people who are under 21, for example, you get to make all those decisions, those kind of basic decisions. We haven't found a small business that we couldn't accommodate, and the PEO will do it. When I say PEO, I mean professional employer organization. There are several out there. My company is just one of them. And I think that's a good option for startups because you don't have to worry about managing the compliance components that go with it, and then you still get the benefit of the additional amount of pre-tax contributions. I also like it because it can be challenging to convert a simple IRA to a 401k. And so if you start with a 401k plan, say you don't want to be with that PEO anymore, you can just move it and you're just moving a 401k plan, not converting a simple IRA to a 401k. So I think that makes sense, but obviously there's costs with a PEO, so it's a cost benefit analysis. Okay, good question. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the innovative benefit options that sometimes we have offered as a small business to try to compete with the larger businesses. As I talked about before, carefully crafted PTO times, student loan payment assistance. We have a bill, or we have a law on the books now that that can be pre-tax for employers up to a certain amount. Child care financial assistance, I think, is a big one too. So we offer a flexible spending account that covers some of that and try to contribute as an employer. The state of Kentucky has a employer match on this that you can take advantage of as well. But with that specific one, I'm trying to, get those folks that have young kids and where we can help out and still get some benefit from the state and also take advantage of the tax benefits of that. Um, Educational opportunities. If you hire an employee, if you hire a good one, they're going to want to advance their career. So we let them go to conferences. We offer stipends for books and additional learning, and also pay for any accreditations or certifications that they want to get and they need to study for. Give them time to study for that. We want them to do those things, and we want to make sure we're paying for them, and we make it explicit when we're hiring. That's part of the package. Some other unusual ones, I think, are sabbatical opportunities. PTO for community volunteering. We encourage all of our employees to try to sit on boards, some nonprofit boards. I'm on too many. I need to get off of some of them, but I try to get other employees to join in the community, and it's good for networking too. So I think there's benefits for that. Pet insurance is a big one. I don't have pets. Employees love it. They eat it up. So we offer it. I don't know. There's a couple of different options out there to offer pet insurance. We offer it to all of our clients as well. Here's a unique one. It's super cheap and employees also love it. And I did it for years and we just lost our masseuse. So I would have a masseuse come on site and be like, all right, the masseuse is here for 3 hours. Here's 20-minute blocks. You can sign up and get a massage. And it was like, I don't know, it was like $400 or something like that. So it was super cheap. We did it once a month. Employees absolutely loved it. So I bring that up. I mean, it's unique. A lot of people don't like it because they think it's just, I don't know, it's too easy on the employees or something. I think maybe it's a generational thing. But from my perspective, it was a really low cost way to keep employees happy, and that's what we're trying to do. Trying to retain employees, make them feel like they're part of the team. So I offer that as a unique option. A lot of big businesses do that. I know Procter and Gamble does it regularly, and my wife works at Fidelity. She gets it too. Okay. Handbooks. Handbooks are tough. You can pay, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10,000 to have a law firm draft one for you. They're a challenge because you put something in a policy and you're stuck with that. Almost every lawsuit that we've been involved with, whatever policy is at play, is relevant to that lawsuit. So it was ADA or discrimination or sometimes time off will come up there. And so wording can be critical. There's also some required policies that you kind of have to have in place. I list some of them here. EEO, or equal employment opportunity, harassment, discrimination. You guys probably won't have to worry about FMLA until you have more than 50 employees. ADA, or the Americans with Disability Act, is 15 employees. But we still include them even for smaller employers. And we say that, we outline what the requirements are and that we're not eligible until we have 15 employees. GINA, or genetic information discrimination, is that's required by federal law. So there's some that you have to have in there, and you can download templates. We use a program from Jackson Lewis Law Firm for all of our clients to keep it updated. I think this is a tough one for small businesses. So the options are you can work with a law firm, you can do it yourself and try to download a template and then maybe fill in the gaps with Chat GPT. We see that a lot these days. And then you could outsource to an HR firm or you could use a PEO. Probably the cheapest, like one-time option, obviously, is to do it yourself. But I have to say, I don't recommend that because it's just so challenging to get everything correct and make sure your wording is correct. And this is going to follow you. So I do think it's important. I would recommend outsourcing it. And then the other option is a PEO to do it. Yeah, I have to say, work with an attorney or somebody who knows what they're doing because it's super challenging. So social media is another really challenging policy to get right. I think what we're worried about there is what can employees say on social media about the company or about their job. And this has been the subject of several lawsuits, and there's circuit court splits here. There's language that have been outlined by particular cases that are good, and that's been overturned by another court. So it's just challenging, super challenging to get it right. So work with someone who knows is what I would say there. Eventually, you're going to have to terminate an employee. It's not the best part of owning a business. It's not fun, and I always say it's something that you have to do. But if you like it, maybe you shouldn't be in business. But you these are people that you've worked with, maybe some of them from the start, and the company has outgrown their skill set potentially, or they've done something that makes sense for you to part ways with them. And so I think for small businesses, the thing that I worry about most is like emotions get tangled up in this. And so what we try to do with our clients, people we're consulting with, is to bring them out of that, try to make a decision based on the facts that we have. Is this a good employee to keep around for the long term? Where do we see them in 3 months to a year? Does it make sense for the business? But it can be challenging if you don't have someone to lean on for that conversation. But what I'll say is, what we see a lot is, hey, I want to terminate this person. We will ask for their performance reviews, and then they'll tell us that the reason that they want to terminate them is because they've had poor performance. But we'll get the performance reviews, and they've had great A+ performance reviews for the last 3 years, and a recent one that you gave them all 5 stars, or whatever your rating is. And that can be a challenge. So the advice here is take those performance reviews seriously. Give your employees feedback. Not everybody has to get 5 stars. Maybe it will hurt their feelings, but this is a professional role, and we expect this performance, and not everybody is an A+ all-star. So try to be honest and consistent with your performance reviews, and think about where do I see this employee in a year or 5 years from now, and will their skills still be relevant for the job that we have. Try to be consistent. When you're actually doing the termination, when you're talking to someone who you're terminating, when you have that difficult meeting, the advice I always give to clients is the fewer words that are spoken, the better. I advise not to get into the back and forth of, you did this and that's why we're terminating you, or your performance here on this particular project was not up to par. The reason I say that is because it invites a back and forth, and what we don't want in that meeting is to get back into a debate about whether or not their performance was satisfactory or not. What we say is, we've made the decision to terminate your employment, and try to leave it at that. People want a little bit of reasoning why, if they're blindsided. But if you've done your job and you've communicated clearly with your employees, they won't be blindsided. And some employees, there's just nothing you can do to to make them understand that they're not performing well. So that happens. But ideally, you've had conversations that have demonstrated that your their performance has not been up to par before you get to that meeting. And then, but in the meeting, it should just be, we've made that decision. Try to keep it clean, because what we don't want is, something bad to happen or people to get upset, tempers to flare. Job descriptions, critical piece. I don't know. We don't see a lot of small businesses that have their job descriptions together. They're challenging and difficult to write, but now we have Chat GPT, and hopefully that makes it easier for folks to kind of fill in the gaps or gives you a template to start with. The reason they're critical is because if someone gets injured on the job and they need to come back, a critical question then is, what is the essential duties of the job, and can they perform them after their injury, or if they have a disability? So if they claim, let's say they have ADHD, that's a common one, or anxiety. The question that we're going to be asking in the determination of whether or not an accommodation for them is reasonable is, what is the job? What are the required essential duties of the job? And if we don't have that clearly outlined ahead of time, then we run the risk of being accused, well, we're changing what the role is now to suit our needs. So we want to have that outlined ahead of time. Also, we want to clearly communicate to the employee what their role is. So whether they need an accommodation or they get injured on the job or not, we want them to know what does it take to perform well in this role. What do they have to do? So it's worth the time to invest to make sure that employees are communicated with clearly, and it can be a legal liability issue. Okay, how am I doing on time, Lisa?
You have about 1 minute.
Okay, good, because I'm almost done. Internships, I always say just pay the employees, just pay them. They're interns. It's a difficult analysis to determine whether or not an intern can be unpaid. I mostly just pay them for the job. And if it's an intern, we usually just pay them a low compensation where it doesn't affect us financially, but we cover the bases from a legal perspective, and we're making sure that we're paying them overtime, but they're usually not working overtime anyway. So I just tell people it makes more sense to just pay them, because it's a very narrow slot to fit in to have an unpaid intern. And I'll just leave it at that since we're running on time. But I wanted to share with you, this is the resources. I have a little QR code that you can scan to get to that, and I have all of them in a folder that you could download. And also, I think we probably already have sent out this slide deck, so a quick link to that, and my contact information if you'd like to reach out and discuss anything. I'm offering to have a chat with anybody that's on the call. Anything that you're going through, or something that is a challenge with employment today, I'm happy to chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Charlie. We really appreciate your time. We especially appreciate your expertise and your generosity with giving back to our startup community, and particularly through our innovation hubs and our ESOs that are working and supporting our founders every day. So thank
Sure.
you for part 2 of all of this great information, and we'll continue to share all of the resources that you've provided. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
All right. And now it is my pleasure to bring forward our hub highlight. We're going to hear from Kacy Hicks, who is Director of Entrepreneurship for the SOAR Innovation Hub in our Eastern Kentucky region. Let's see, do we have Kacy coming forward here so that she can share the latest and greatest in what's happening in the SOAR region? Is she on the call? I hope she is. I know she said she got some good updates. She's here. She's here. We're just bringing her forward, I think, as a panelist. Well, while we're doing that, I'm going to quickly jump over to our announcements and we'll get her forward. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and mark your calendars. Please save the date. These are the upcoming Innovation Hub events and activities. So you'll notice that in the Sprocket region, they have both their coffee hour every Wednesday where they gather, and then they've got an event coming up, their Build What Works Lunch and Learn that is happening. That is coming up actually tomorrow. Amplify is having their speed networking among founders to increase their network, which is also tomorrow evening at Louisville Slugger. Our Innovation Hub update, where you'll hear from all 6 Innovation Hubs and their year-end results, is planned for July 30th at 10 a.m., which will be virtual. And then Awesome Inc. has their Entrepreneur Summer Retreat coming up early August over there at Barefoot Republic Campgrounds and Retreat Center. The monthly Amplify Venture Connectors is August 6th at the Kentucky Science Center. And this event, August Startup Resources Series, will be next month, August 19th. And then finally, we'll round out next month in August with the new Confetti Conference for creatives and founders. That'll be in Louisville in the Nulu Innovation District, August 27th and 28th. I will stop sharing, and good morning, Kacy. How are you? You are on mute. If you want to unmute yourself, perfect. And go ahead and you can share your desktop.
Okay.
And here's the latest all about the SOAR region.
Awesome. All right. Good morning from SOAR. I'm excited to be able to talk about some of the things we've had in the works while we're winding down last fiscal year and prepping for fiscal year 26. So we're super excited for this new year and some of the new events and initiatives that are launching in Q1 and Q2 for us. So first off, I just wanted to showcase our team. So we spent the back end of fiscal year 25 building out our team, and we've officially rolled over fiscal year 26 with an entire team in tow. So we're super excited. Our last couple of team members joining us is Sabra Lowe. She's working on our ARC Power Grant within our partner education institutions in our local and regional chambers. And then Colt Swint, who has joined our team as Startup Intake Coordinator. So I just wanted to take a minute to highlight both of them. And then I also wanted to take a minute to reflect on our first ever Startup Appalachia Accelerator and Founders Weekend event that we wrapped up at the end of fiscal year 25. We're super proud of this. This accelerator was focused on investor readiness and addressing common themes that investors care about most. So clarity, traction, team strengths, and scalability. The structure was an upfront assessment and then masterclass sessions over 10 weeks. And then we looped in some subject matter experts in our EIR to run those programs. And then we had some personalized one-on-one mentorship opportunities every other week that was geared toward helping our clients shine and get ready to be in front of investors. So we built it with our founders in mind, especially those that were navigating the unique challenges of building a startup in this region. No matter where they started, we had folks of all different stages go through this accelerator, but the goal was to help them feel more prepared and better connected and ready to take their next step. So a few numbers I wanted to highlight that came out of that was we had 9 accelerator participants, which is really good. I feel like for our first one, we were like, our goal was like 5. So we were like, yay. So we had 8 startup stage advancements and then 32 investment connections made as a result from this program. So we're super proud. We ended the program with a founders weekend in Ashland where we brought together our participants and let them put what they had been working on for this 10 weeks in front of real investment groups and mentors. So I'm going to try to play this video and just kind of let it speak for themselves, speak for itself, because this is a recap video from what happened that weekend. So let's see if it'll play and you guys can hear it. Maybe. No, I don't know if the sound's going to work. Probably not. Darn. Let's see.
We don't have any sound, Kacy.
Shoot. Well, I thought that might happen. So I'll just go back to the presentation so I don't waste time. If you guys want to get on our social media page, it's on Facebook. Watch this video. It's a really great recap of what happened that weekend and a lot of great feedback from our clients. So we're super proud of that. The next thing is a new initiative we're launching this year. It's our Founders Fit webinar series. And this is going to be a monthly event geared toward founders. Each session is going to focus on a different key startup challenge, like stretching your budget, finding customers, or building momentum. So it ends with a simple practical challenge at the end of each session that founders can actually apply to their business. So it's going to be really beneficial. Our first event is happening July 31st, and the topic is Bootstrap Bootcamp. And so it's going to be all about learning how to do more with less. We're going to walk through simple ways to stretch dollars, operate on a lean budget, and keep business moving even without outside funding. So we're super excited to launch that in July. The next big thing is the SOAR Summit. So that's coming up in August. It is August 26th through 29th in Corbin. This is a great opportunity to plug in. There are 5 programming tracks this year: workforce, innovation, tourism, capacity, and AI. So Tuesday, August 26th will include all of the sessions focused on innovation. We'll have an introduction to our KY Innovation Hubs, kind of highlighting how we're collaborating to support startups across the state. You're going to hear from Eastern Kentucky founders who have built bold brands and taken those to national audiences. And then a panel of regional and national investors that are going to dive into how Eastern Kentucky is becoming a hotspot for venture-backable businesses. So you can check out the full schedule on the QR. If you scan the QR code, that's going to take you to the website where the full schedule is, and you can get tickets there as well. So we'd love to have you at the summit. And then I wanted to highlight our mentorship network. So we're excited to be growing that network. We've been focused on building relationships and meeting as many great connections and organizations as we can, and we're really ready to launch this mentorship network. So this is also going to serve as a matchmaking directory for those that are interested in being paired with a client during our accelerator cohorts. If you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to the SOAR Innovation Mentor form. This is just a flexible, kind of low barrier way for experienced professionals to plug into Eastern Kentucky's growing innovation ecosystem. And mentors can really engage at their own pace through one-on-one coaching, through panels, in-person events, webinars, and things of that nature. So share this form if someone comes to mind, or fill it out if you're personally interested in becoming a mentor in our network. We'd love to have you. And I'm going to try to wrap up quickly, sorry. So as part of our ARC Power Grant initiative, we're going to be launching some student entrepreneurship clubs at our partner institutions who don't already have entrepreneurship clubs. There are a couple of them that do. So the ones that do, we're going to be partnering with them to collaborate on what they've already got going on and their current efforts, and offer some of our programming there as well. So we're excited for that. And we're also going to be launching some AI-focused training. This is in the works currently, but these are going to be targeted to existing businesses, student-led ventures, and tech-enabled startups. It's going to be about leveraging AI to extend your runway, increase productivity, automate operations, and then act faster. And then the last thing I have is we want to use this initiative as a lead generation tool. So this is the Tech the Town initiative, and we're going to be partnering with our local and regional chambers to access existing businesses in the area who have undoubtedly ran into some bumps in the road and some problems in their current venture. So we want to address how these problems can be an opportunity if enough people are facing the same problems in similar businesses. This could be a scalable opportunity. So they've already identified those pain points or problem points. So we want to host a concept level workshop that kind of it's like a business ideation hackathon mashup to really help build out these ideas to solve the problems they've identified with new innovative technology. So yeah, we've got a really A lot of cool things cooking, I think, that we're really, really excited about this fiscal year. And a lot of this stuff is going to be launching these first 2 quarters. So we're super excited. And that's all I've got. So this is my contact info. If you guys are interested in any of this, please reach out.
Thank you so much, Kacy. You've got a lot on your plate, but we're excited for the SOAR region and all of the upcoming opportunities for the tech founders in your service area. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. We're just a little bit over our end time here, but we're all good. Lots of good content. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you back here again next month. Have a great day. Thanks.